Hey everyone, Rod Hofeling here with Remax Foothills. Hey, today I wanted to take just a minute and talk about the state of our current market. I had a recent Zoom call with a colleague of mine, Scott Harward. He's a trusted lender. And I wanted to share a couple of excerpts from that Zoom call that we had because I think there's some interesting things going on. But overall, what I'm seeing right now in the market is that there's kind of a holding pattern for people, and I think it's actually building up some pent-up demand. So a lot of people that I talk to in the know expect interest rates to come down probably at the end of the year, next year sometime, although we don't have a crystal ball, but this is what they expect. And what I think is going to happen is once interest rates get below, I think the market's going to go crazy and we're going to see bidding wars again. We have very low inventory. And I think, we're going to be back where we were about a year and a half ago. So in terms of, is now a good time to buy, given the fact that the interest rates are kind of high, I think there's a lot of compelling reasons why now actually is a great time to purchase. Anyway, I'm going to share a little bit of what Scott and I spoke about, and I hope you find it informative. So Scott, thank you for taking the time to have a quick discussion with me. From your perspective as a lender, what kind of advantages do you see for buyers right now?
Well, I think if you go back even just short term, in the last year, we had a shift from, really a buyer's market to a seller's market. And now we're kind of in limbo, it seems like, because there's all these people that took advantage of low interest rates and they refinanced, and now there's a lot of people sitting on the sidelines because they don't want to go out and maybe buy a house that is going to cost them more. But in reality, I think there's some maybe short-sighted type viewing of some of this stuff. And what I mean by that is that, yes, there's a lack of inventory. However, property values aren't going down. And you see a lot of stuff in the media that talks about interest rates are sky high and your payment's going to go up and now's not the time to buy and values are going to drop and that sort of thing. And in my opinion, that couldn't be further from the truth. Yes, interest rates are high, and part of that's just because the Federal Reserve is trying to get inflation in check because they had pumped so much money into the market during COVID, and now we're seeing inflation that's kind of gotten out of hand. The Fed's made 11 increases in the federal funds rate over the last 12 months. Well, the stuff that they're doing really is intended to cause inflation to go down. And the advantage to that, and even though the news talks about the Fed raising the rates again, what a lot of people don't understand is that their Fed is not raising the mortgage rates. They're raising the federal funds rate, which is the cost of money from bank to bank. And they do that. And historically, you can see this in past years, when the Feds raise the federal funds rate over a period of time, then typically it drives down inflation. In many cases, it causes a recession. We haven't seen that yet. But by causing inflation to go down, they're actually potentially improving interest rates because the bond market does not like inflation. That erodes the value of a bond. So anytime you have less inflation, that's better, and that drives down mortgage rates. The drawback to waiting, though, is that if you wait, two things really happen. One is you're losing out on the appreciation because property values are not going down. When you have a limited supply, values go up, not down. If somebody waits a year and let's just say the property appreciates by 4 or 5%, well, they might have just lost out on $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 of equity they would have built up over that year. And then on the flip side, yes, maybe they're getting a higher rate now and a higher payment now. All the experts are saying that really, based on what the Fed's done already, based on future forecasts for inflation, and based on the fact that we actually could go into a recession at the end of the year or into the first quarter of next year, all those things are going to drive down interest rates. All these people that buy now, they may have a short-lived higher payment because they could refinance in 6 to 12 months.
Exactly. And from my perspective, we participated in this thing a couple of years ago, actually a little over a year ago, where the buyers actually had to come in above list price, in order to get a house. They were waiving inspections, waiving appraisals. And the good news right now, from what I see, is that has gone away. And in fact, we have sellers right now that actually may be willing to contribute. I mean, there's tools out there.
Yeah. And one of the big tools that came about is we used to use this years ago. It's called the 2-1 buy down or 1-0 buy down. Basically, you take the current market rate, and let's just say, for example, it was 6.5%. That's the rate, let's say today, with no points. If you do a 2-1 buy down, the seller pays the cost to lower the rate the first year by 2%. So go to 4.5%, and then the second year would go up 1% to 5.5%. It doesn't hit the 6.5 until the third year through the 30th year. And because the seller's paying for that cost, the borrower is back at 4.5% rather than 6.5. So, and it gives them time to ease into a higher payment and or refinance once the rates go down. So yeah, that's a great tool. Some people say, oh, well, rather than if the seller's going to pay to reduce my rate, rather than a 2-1 buy down, which is a temporary thing where it goes up 1%, and then again, a lot of people say, well, what if I buy down my rate permanently? Maybe I should just use that money to buy it down. And let's just say it was $10,000. $10,000 on a $500,000 loan is not going to get you maybe more than a 0.25% to 0.5% reduction in the rate. That's not bad. It's certainly not a $300 or $400 reduction in the payment, which a 2-1 buy down would be.
Right.
The other thing is on the 2-1 buy down, and people don't realize this, that money is sitting in an escrow account. So if you decided to refinance after 6 months and you haven't really taken advantage of the whole 2 years in terms of lower rates, the buyer gets that money back as a reduction in their loan balance. So not losing it.
Right.
It's a win-win. The other thing too is they say, well, what if I had the seller reduce the sales price by $10,000 instead of taking the $10,000 towards my buy down of the rate? Well, $10,000 reduction in the sales price would probably on average maybe only get them $60 a month lower in their mortgage payment. And while they have a lower balance, most people would rather have a $300 or $400 reduction in their payment and then be able to get the money back that they didn't use towards the balance at that point when they do the refinance, and then refinance permanently to a lower rate. So really the 2-1 buy down is the best option, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. The amount of time that it takes to recoup on buying down the interest rate is too long. The advantage is too little, in my opinion, as well.
Right.
Fantastic. Thank you for taking the time to share that stuff with us right now. I know there's a lot of confusion out there right now on what is the right thing to do. And I know there's a lot of people that actually want to do something.
Well, and I think the other thing too that is continually happening is that we have an aging population, not only on the older end, but also on the younger end. So a lot of these kids that are now out of college, they have careers, maybe they're getting married. The low inventory is not helping them. There's still less availability of product. So it's important for them to get out there and buy now. Waiting is not the answer.
I agree. And not only will it cost them more, but if they do take advantage of it now, there could be some real appreciation, going into the next property. So as you can see, there's actually a lot of reasons why right now may be one of the better times to purchase property, and where waiting may actually cost a lot of money. If we wait and the interest rates go down and the market goes crazy again, we may see scenarios where buyers are having to pay above list price and not getting much in return. Anyway, if you have any questions with regards to lending, I'm happy to provide Scott's information. He's a wealth of knowledge. Just reach out to me and I will connect you. And if you have any questions with regards to real estate or what's going on in the market, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll talk to you soon. Ron Hofeling with RE/MAX Foothills.